So in my last hot take, we actually looked at some of the coonery going on in certain anime, but then I thought maybe we should look at it from the other side. So this week, we're gonna look at a few of the most racist anime characters and see why they either had a point or may even be justified in moving how they moved. So with that said, let's get into it. So off rip, is Tobirama racist? Yes. But does he have a valid reason? I'd say yes. And he may not even be as racist as people make it seem. Keyword may. But like, he probably wouldn't have had a Uchiha as one of his students if he was like really racist. I mean, he could just see him as one of the quote-unquote good ones. Kind of like how he sees Itachi, but I digress. So during the Warring States era, Hashirama and Tobirama's dad obviously didn't like the Uchiha. At this time, this is when they were constantly battling, so duh. But even with that, they didn't carry the same hatred to the future. Well, I'll say Hashirama didn't. As for Tobirama, I'll say he didn't carry that same level of hatred. But yeah, future Hashirama on the other hand, was dead with it to just see how things played out, rather than treating them a certain way. Especially because him and Madara were friends at one point and then now rivals. So eventually he made a proposal to Madara to just end the fighting and join him to come to an agreement. But of course this was against Tobirama's wishes. But what I think people tend to forget, that it was also against Madara's brother Izuna's wishes too. It's really just Izuna wasn't really in a position to go hard about it since he was about to die. So clearly both brothers were being the more realistic ones about this. The clan's been at war for a good minute now. So to just become buddy now, of course there's gonna be a level of distrust and niggas feeling away. But yeah, Madara and Hashirama squashed everything and built the leaf. That's cool and all, and although putting the past behind them would have been the most ideal thing to do, it's a little too optimistic to expect peaches and cream. I guess they just expected it to get better over time. But if you really think about it, they had an understanding, as in Hashirama and Madara. And even that only came after Hashirama was able to convince Madara, so he himself had his doubts. And we definitely saw more of that later on. But yeah, Tobirama wasn't feeling this before the peace treaty, shit after the peace treaty. Overall, yeah, he just wasn't on board with this. Like, we killed mad Uchiha by this point, and vice versa. And then I, for one, even killed one of this guy's brothers. Then not to mention my brothers died. Yeah, so he just had it set in his head, no way this is gonna be vibey. Mind you, before the agreement, he literally just seen how mad Madara was about his brother's death. So I, for one, wouldn't think it's immediately water under the bridge. Tobirama's main issue with the Uchiha was that their emotion can cloud their judgment. Basically, he sees them as ticking time bombs, like prone to self-destruct. This theory of his, though, came about after he learned how they even get their Sharingan. Now, I gotta say, though, we do see this time and time again, like when something dramatic happens to a Uchiha. Like, boom, Sasuke, prime example here. Once he lost his peoples, he like slowly just went down the wrong path after that. It got worse and worse throughout the show, too. Luckily, he had a friend like Naruto. But same again with Obito. After Rin's death, he starts tripping. Now, I don't know if that was due to him being down bad, or if that was due to him being a Uchiha. And then we have Itachi, and I really feel like if Shisui didn't die, he wouldn't have been so quick to off the clan. Like, his death was really the last straw. And then of course Madara, and yeah. So yeah, it's the same thing over and over. Don't get me wrong, these are all valid reasons to bug out, but the Uchiha, they tend to go a little over the top when they decide to. But I also think some of Tobirama's distrust for them comes from the fact that their powers could rival the Senju's. So of course, if something did pop off, it would be an issue. So is he wrong for one to keep an eye out for them? No. But did he drag it though? Yes. Like, him knowing all this, it's not crazy to be cautious, but here's when things do get crazy. You can be cautious without being outright prejudiced. Like, swear to God, certain shit just was not needed. We all know in the future, Tobirama kept doing intentional shit against the Uchiha, and at that point, you are racist. So even though I feel like him putting the Uchiha in charge of the police wasn't due to pure intentions, like I believe he wanted to create tensions between them and the other clans doing that. But let's actually let that one slide because maybe he really didn't think of that. And no matter who ended up being the police, that would always come with the job. But we can't let when he isolated the Uchiha from the rest of the Leaf slide. Like he didn't move them as far as Danzo now, but still. Then the constantly telling his brother his theory on how he feels like the Uchiha are really mentally ill. Like he was just doing all types of little bullshit. Also, he claims that certain things were done just so he could keep an eye on them, but he's one to talk. Like, sir, someone needs to keep an eye on you. He was really over here creating mad forbidden jutsu, specifically one that would end up helping Madara reach his goal in the future. So it's like, look at the irony, y'all. Anyways, the whole point is, maybe, just maybe, if Tobirama didn't grow up in a time period where they were constantly fighting each other, the Senju and the Uchiha, he probably would have been able to be a bit more trusting towards them. You also gotta keep in mind, he didn't have any type of special bond within them, like how Hashirama did. So growing up, and after all this time of fighting, all he knew was that a good Uchiha was a dead Uchiha. Overall, I can validate that. And if we start comparing him to other racists in the show, he's way more validated. Like niggas like Danzo on the other hand were racist for fun. It's so weird too because he was literally saved by Uchiha, so what the fuck? And apparently Kagami saved him multiple times, so I don't know where his hate came from. If anything, you should know better. But yeah, he took certain stuff he's seen from Tobirama and really times 10'd it. Alright, next up, Frieza. And yes, he's really in here, y'all. Trust me when I say I'll never clickbait, but you guys do have to hear me out with this one. Okay, so is Frieza racist? Call me crazy, but I'ma say no. Well, actually, better yet, I'll say it's not directed to the Saiyans. Well, just the Saiyans. Like, okay, he calls them monkeys, but are they not? Unlike some other people, Frieza is at least saying it to actual monkeys. Like, yes, he's obviously trying to be funny with it, but at the same time, he's not all the way out of line. Like, rude? Yes. But true? Huh. We're not gonna act like they don't have tails and that they don't transform into apes. So for that, I'll let you guys be the judge. But another thing is, people act like he only committed genocide on the Saiyans. He's done this to multiple races and planets and all that. So if anything, he's equally racist. And I know it may have looked like Frieza was just so happy to off them, but behind all the hysterical laughing, he does have a valid reason. We don't know about all the other planets he conquered, but the Saiyans, I know for sure, weren't innocent. Like, to be honest, that was probably their karma. Goku was just one of the good ones. That does sound OD, but I'm so deadass. They conquered mad planets before even being under Frieza. And it is naturally in their blood to choose violence every time. Even Goku couldn't break away from the enjoyment of fighting part. Also, Beerus himself thought the planet should be wiped out just because of their ways. And besides all that, he also was eliminating a potential threat. Cause not gonna lie, that Super Saiyan shit sounds like something I wouldn't want to get into either. So with their potential capabilities and overall just the nature of the Saiyans, keeping them around is a huge risk. I've always wondered though, does he always do a shitty job when committing genocide? Like the times we do see him do it on screen, it's like he always lets someone slip through the cracks. But anyways, I can't say he was wrong for wanting to off them. Like, look what ended up happening to him. So we can't exactly call him racist from this, I'd say. But now if we go based on how he enslaved the Saiyan race, I don't know. It's not like he only had them as subordinates. In fact, if we look at all his subordinates, it's pretty diverse. Plus, he treats all his subordinates about the same. Pretty shitty. But plenty of emperors do, so the fuck? Only thing with the Saiyans though, why it's a little OD, is because it's a whole planet. And obviously out of fear, not because they willingly want to join the ranks. But, and hear me out, it's not a bad gig. They were already doing this without Frieza. Now they're doing it with better tech and for money. And just under this guy now. So I feel like Frieza more enslaved them because they were useful, not because he just didn't like them. So yeah, I'm gonna be the one to say if Frieza is racist, he's equally racist to everybody. Well, at least at first, because after Goku did what he did to him, it might have changed a little bit. Alright, now Nina from Code Geass, this is actually gonna be a little bit hard for me because I really wasn't feeling her, like even more than someone else. But this isn't about that, this is about understanding the racist. But first, I gotta say, why a table though? Now for real though, it is kind of crazy she's so hated when other people like Cornelia or Jeremiah get to rock. Like if you remember in the beginning, Jeremiah for one, he was happy as hell to kill Japanese people. And then we seen Cornelia's stance the whole time. But overall, I have to say they are more likable characters. Like Orange Boy, even his switch up was better than hers, so. Then Cornelia, she just looks how she looks. She gets a pass. But yeah, Nina is only on here because I personally think something is off with her. Like mentally, for real, for real. If not that, then it has to be some type of extreme anxiety. So when you view her actions, keeping that in mind, it actually helps a lot. Possibly even justifies some things. So her name is Nina Einstein. They couldn't have been more clear on the Einstein reference they were trying to do. But while still being very intelligent, Einstein still had Asperger's. So it's definitely not far-fetched to think that Nina has that going on or something else. We could also just scratch it off as we were just supposed to hate her, but I feel like the mentally unstable excuse is going to be better for this. So it doesn't help that I'm pretty sure she had some type of traumatic experience with an 11 growing up. They never explain what exactly happened, but that would make sense on why she's so scared of Japanese people. On top of that though, I think it's really a mix of her being fed certain propaganda and then some of her encounters with 11s. Like the whole hostage situation, that definitely can't be helping her stance on them already. Now just because I hear this one a lot, I do want to make the point to say, just because we see her friend group not being racist doesn't mean she shouldn't be a product of her environment, or that she's totally unreasonable. If anything, I think the student council for sure are the ones out the norm there. They seem way more accepting than any of the other students there. Like outside the student council, we saw how the rest of the students treated Suzaku when he first got to the school. So most likely that's the real norm. So as for that situation, my real question for her would be, why did she even hang around these people? Of course you can think differently than your friend, but hanging with a whole friend group who think obviously different than you, well, they're probably not your vibe. But then again, she is an introvert, so finding a new friend group probably isn't high on her priority list. Now after Yuffie's death, she starts tweaking. Now she does all type of questionable shit, but the mass murder thing has to be the worst. She built the flare and then kept telling Suzaku to use it. And because she kept begging him to use it, telling him to live in shit, it activated his Geass command. So he fires it, and this results in like 35 million deaths. All because she wanted to avenge Yuffie. But I gotta say, watching her initial reaction after Yuffie's death is definitely when I realized she's off. But it's kinda understandable why she became this unhinged. Keep in mind y'all, she's already not all the way there, so this just made it worse. We saw how she became obsessed with Yuffie, after barely speaking to her, mind you, but let's talk why though. During the whole hostage situation, Yuffie stepped in and saved her, and from there she pretty much seen her as a goddess. Admiration is fine, you know, for saving her, but then she develops this like romantic type obsession, like getting off to her pics and all that. But I'ma go on the limb to say, maybe she became so obsessed because with already being unstable, she's also like emotionally immature. From what it seems like, this is probably her first emotional connection on this level, even though to us it doesn't seem like much really happened. So I guess this would be a valid reaction. She doesn't know how to properly handle her feelings, so I guess it turned into an unnatural obsession. So her becoming totally unhinged there, I guess it would make sense. That would explain why she almost killed her so-called friends after Yuffie's death. And also why she insisted on Suzaku to fire the flare only to end up regretting it. Speaking of which, that actually pissed me off bad because she decided to change after the flare was already fired. Like damn, you couldn't come to this realization before the millions of deaths? Anyways though, I guess she does get her redemption after helping Lelouch towards the end. Now, I'm not sure if that balanced everything out, but luckily this is about understanding why she did what she did. So yeah, the best excuse, like I said, is the fact that she's a little off. And even then, it's a little, Now, there's definitely more characters to look into, but I didn't want to make this video too long. So definitely let me know if you want a part 2. I mean, I was probably going to do it regardless. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'm going to leave y'all with this.
You're just a slave, a pawn with no free will of its own, is that it?
Free will. Pitiful humans. War, segregation, hatred. Is that what you've done with your free will, boy? Don't you lecture me with your $30 haircut. Goku dies.
We'll see, you red ribbon redneck.